Good evening. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamb Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me, as always, my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
Extended applause.
Nice.
Applause. All right.
Not mad about it.
That was filler applause.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, right? I'll take whatever they give me.
Sure.
We're live streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and please check out our webpage, www.lambsports.com. You can find links to past shows and the current trivia question on the website. The first segment of our show is, as always, brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. Phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamb Sports Show. That's The Range. Educate, equip, and empower. So,
Yeah,
we have things to talk about. NBA playoffs.
a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Stanley Cup playoffs. Semifinals.
Yep.
It's the semifinals. Track and field news.
Yes.
Baseball news.
Uh-huh.
Kind of. Soccer news. And I mean, we got a lot of stuff here that we're going to cover. And college football playoff news. Right?
Yes.
But we're going to start with our trivia question because that's what we do here. And you know what? It's wrong. See? Look at that. When you just do it wrong, everything turns out
First bit of technical difficulties already.
I don't really want to call that one a technical difficulty. I just, a little slow. The trivia question is brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Open at both locations. The winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, 7 days a week from 12 to 6 for patio dining. The downtown tasting room at 210 Oak Street, 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Go to staveandstone.com. Check out their selection of award-winning wines, or make a reservation to go taste for yourself. Call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Email them at info@staveandstone.com for more information. Stave & Stone, wines with personality. Trivia question. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's hockey.
Cool.
Okay. So here's what I wanted to know. I was sitting here looking at the goal scorers here in the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, seeing who had got the most goals up, through the playoffs. And the question came into my head, and I was like, okay, so what's the record for like a playoff series? How many goals in a playoff series? What's the NHL record? So that's today's question. What is the NHL record for goals scored in a playoff series by a single player?
Huh. By a single player.
By a single player. So you figure the max is going to be 7 games.
Right.
If it goes 7 games. So I want to know what's the max, what's the record? And, part 2 of that, of course, who was it? But
sure.
If you know the first part, you probably know the second part.
Well, that's probably not true, but
I feel like you could guess the first part because it's a number. But
that's fair.
But if you know the first part, if you know the answer without guessing, you probably know the second part. That's what I'm saying.
Fair. Okay.
So anyway, who's the NHL record for goals scored in a playoff series? What is it, and who holds it? All right, there you go. So pretty exciting. Huh?
Okay.
All right, hang on to the answer till the end. Hold all questions till the end. So, first thing we want to talk about, something that happened on Saturday, the European Championships, Euro 2020, because they didn't have it last year. It's in full swing at locations across Europe. The event was canceled because of COVID-19. It's being played this year in front of real fans. They've got actual fans in the stands. It's still in the group stage until the 23rd, and then it moves to the knockout rounds later next week. The biggest news from Euro 2020 so far has been the on-field collapse of Christian Eriksen. Eriksen, one of the stars of the Danish national team, and plays for Inter Milan in the Italian Serie A. In Denmark's first match of the tournament on Saturday, Eriksen was headed toward the sideline to receive a throw-in when he went into cardiac arrest and collapsed on the field. First responders on site administered CPR and used a defibrillator to restart his heart. Eriksen was awake when they took him from the field and was listed in stable condition at a Copenhagen hospital on Saturday. He since made a public Instagram post that let everyone know basically that he's as okay as he can be. They're still doing tests. But man,
Right.
what a frightening scene on Saturday morning.
It's
Uh,
pretty exciting, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean that was something you were not expecting. I mean, no, I mean I was not. Nobody. I don't think I've watched a lot of sports in my what 40 years of, and I'm not giving away my age. And I've never seen anything quite like that. It was
No, I've never seen anything quite like that either.
strange. Just was a strange occurrence, and it was scary. And happy that he's okay. Obviously, seems like I mean he looks like nothing happened, but
Right.
but clearly there was an issue. What stops your heart? What causes that in the middle of a soccer game to just say, "Nah, I'm done." That's the question.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of things. An abnormal heart rhythm was one of the big ones that kept popping up when I was reading about this whole thing. That happens pretty regularly with people. They don't realize they have it, and then, being in these high stress conditions, all these things, all of a sudden it just stops pumping blood.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's unusual for sure.
yeah.
But he's not the only person to have done. There was another guy back in 2012 that collapsed on the pitch. Fabrice Muamba, and his heart stopped for 78 minutes.
That's a long time.
Mark Vivian Foe died while playing for Cameroon. Um, and so yeah, there was a person who died from this. He was 28, and then an England defender, Ugo Ihugu,
Huh.
who was the Tottenham Spurs coach. He died in 2017, but he had a heart issue too.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's not unheard of, but it's
it's rare,
extremely rare. I mean, this is not
right?
something that happens to athletes normally. So
Right.
it,
It's very rare and it's very unique.
yeah. Anyway, but it was soccer aside. I mean, the rest of the soccer tournament, I'm like, meh. This was big news, and it was interesting to see, and the fact that the people were able to be there, fairly quickly and restart him basically, hit the reset button, Control Alt Delete, and get him back.
Oh, no,
So
they opened the task manager. That's a difference.
it was
They
that.
opened the task manager
They
and
had,
saw that the program was not responding,
have you tried
closed the program, and then reopened it.
have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Um, I, I,
When you
I don't
bring out
know.
the defibrillator, it's the task manager.
I don't know if it's too early to make jokes. I'm happy that he's okay though. But anyway, yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah.
So everyone's gonna think that we forgot about Korean baseball, but no, we haven't. By the way, uh,
Never forgot about it.
after about 60 games, the KT Wiz and the Samsung Lions are your league leaders. They're 30,
It
33
is.
and 23 and 35 and 25 respectively. KT Wiz are led by league leading hitter Baek Ho Kang. Kang is hitting 409, 7 homers and 48 RBIs so far this year. The Lions are led by the league home run leader Jose Perella, who that doesn't sound Korean by the way. He has 16
You don't have
homers.
to be Korean to play in the Korean Baseball
I
League.
know, but I assume when I start reading the names, I'm gonna have to say something in Korean, like Baek Ho Kang.
Sure.
But no, Jose Perella was pretty easy. He has 16 home runs.
Nice change of pace.
Well, yeah, he has 16 home runs and 49 RBIs for the Lions. So watch some Korean baseball. I mean, I don't even know if it's on ESPN anymore. I don't think they're showing it anymore.
It's still on sometimes. They show replays though. They're not showing it live.
Ah, but it used
But
to
like
come on
really
at
late
like
at
3
night,
in the
like
morning.
3, 4 a.m.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's still about when they're showing.
that was okay because what else were you gonna watch? You're gonna watch a replay of the 1988 PBA Championship bowling? I don't think
Something
so.
like that.
Yeah, I mean that's on the Ocho.
It probably is more exciting than baseball.
It's got more action for sure. It's
Definitely,
not.
there's definitely more going on and much
Um,
shorter.
let's talk about the burrito.
The burrito.
Let's talk about the burrito episodes. Shelby Houlihan, middle distance runner who currently holds 2 U.S. records, by the way, has
Yeah.
received a 4-year ban from competing for testing positive for the steroid nandrolone. She's now banned from competing in the U.S. Olympic trials this year, the Tokyo Olympics this year, and the
Right.
2024 Paris Olympics.
Right.
Officially. She says that the positive test, as best she can figure anyway, is a result of eating a pork burrito. Well,
Right.
from the food truck near her home in Beaverton, Oregon.
Right.
About 10 hours before the testing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's pointing to studies, or her and her attorneys are pointing to studies that say that nandrolone is a naturally occurring substance in some pigs, and claiming that, of course, the testing process was flawed,
Right.
which it may be, but um, it's it's a it is a frequently used performance enhancing drug, which is why it's on the banned substances list from the
Right.
anti-doping agency. So it's not she's not at all near the first one that's ever tested positive for this particular um, steroid. So
Sure.
if it's a commonly used one to cheat, you could see where you would be, if you test positive for it, they're going to assume you're cheating.
Yeah, and it's happened before. There was a runner for Kenya, this earlier this year. He tested positive for nandrolone, and what's it called? The arbitrator upheld the ban that was on him. There was a runner for Germany from last year. He tested positive for nandrolone, but they upheld his ban. He was arguing that his toothpaste was spiked with the steroid. Then there's Canelo
Huh.
Alvarez back in March 2018, who tested positive for clenbuterol, which is found in different animals and things like that. But he said it was meat contamination.
Hmm.
The lab did a bunch of tests on the place where he ate food and things like that. They bought a bunch of it, and then they overturned it
Hmm.
and said, "Yeah, you're good to go." Tyson Fury had a similar thing. They overturned his. There have been a whole bunch of cases of this, and then more recently, more kind of to her point though, there was another Olympian, um, a long jumper named Jaron Lawson, who had a beef bowl at a restaurant, and he said that caused his failed test, and then that was overturned because they investigated the cause of it and said, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, we tested more beef from this restaurant, and sure enough." There it is in the beef. So it's not unheard of, but it sounds so ridiculous to say it was the burrito.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it.
I blamed a burrito for a lot of things, but never that, right?
Right? That's what I was just gonna say. I was almost gonna say, if this is the worst thing that's ever happened to her from eating a burrito, she's in good shape. Um,
Well, and that's another thing though, is this is her first non-cleared test ever
right,
in her whole history of running.
right.
And right off the way you get a 4-year ban. Can we take a moment and think maybe people aren't trying to do this? Obviously, if you test once for it and it's something you're actively taking, and then
Yeah,
they come get you and they test you again within a day or so, like if you're actively taking it for performance enhancing, purposes, you're gonna fail again. But if you just happen to eat something, it's gonna pass. So
right.
you won't fail a second time. So let's maybe not just immediately ban off of a singular test, and let's try and get another test going here. And let's try and do. They're going to investigate. There's a
Sure.
whole thing that's going to happen here, but it sucks that she's probably going to have to sit out the Olympics because this whole thing's going to take so long.
Right. Yeah, the process is not going to be quick.
It's not going to be
Um,
easy.
yeah.
Also, let's talk about this food cart because I don't know what it is, but they can have a sign out front like burritos so good it'll get you banned.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would come up with that. I would try to find a way to use that in my slogan for sure, because I don't know. I mean, the a burrito so good it should be illegal, right?
So good, it's outlawed.
Right. That's kind of what I feel is the slogan that should come from that. And they're probably, I mean, they're probably getting some fame from it, at least locally.
Locally, the people who know about it, but they haven't released the name of the place, which is
No, no, they haven't.
frustrating. And I'm trying to figure out where it is because I
Yeah.
live in Beaverton. I'm right next to Nike.
And
I
if it's
mean,
and if it's a mobile truck, you might never know where it is.
it's true.
They're
It's
moving
very
around all the
true.
dang time. But that's isn't it? But to me, this was so Portland. This was one of those things where I'm like, you ate at a food cart, you ate at a food truck, and you got banned from your basically from your career for 4 years because because everyone eats at a food truck at some point.
So this brings up, I have a firm hatred of farmers markets. I don't like farmers markets. I feel like there's no regulation and no oversight. I feel like it's just chaos out there.
Yeah,
Food trucks are just this side of farmers markets. They're a slightly more organized farmers market and that everything's in a box. But if this test gets overturned and she misses the Olympics in the time, can she sue them and
I
say, "Hey,
don't.
look, you cost me your food, your contaminated food that you fed me, that you didn't know that you were feeding me or whatever. You cost me however many millions of dollars in sponsors. You cost me shots at gold medals, which are priceless. You can't really put a price tag on that, but I think she's got a claim if it does in
Nah,
fact get overturned.
nah. I don't think that'll ever. You'd never be able to hold up because what are you gonna say? Oh, I should assume that you're a world class athlete and you're gonna get drug tested tomorrow. That
No,
no.
you should post you should if you're going to include if some substances are in your food because most of the things that you eat in like if you go to Chipotle right now and get a burrito, if she would have gone to Chipotle, she would have been fine. But
Probably.
she went to a food cart
Right.
that probably sources its meat from
I mean,
I'm not gonna say the most reputable places, but I'm not gonna say they're bad places. But it's not normal. They're not getting their food through like naturalized supply chains and things like that. They're having to go find it and secure it themselves because they're small businesses.
she was supporting
So
local business.
I can appreciate that. That cost her. So stop going to farmers markets. Stop eating at food carts, and you'll be fine. You'll have a long and happy and healthy career if you stop doing this Portlandy crap.
I feel like that was half of your minute now that we've dissed on farmers market. I feel like we should take away half a minute
Oh, I could do a whole episode on farmers markets.
because I've never had an issue with a farmers market. I get what you're saying is, but I don't go to a farmers market expecting to buy, um, you know, finished quality food. It's raw product. That's what you're buying normally at a farmer's market. You're buying cucumbers. You're
Usually.
buying whatever. You're gonna go wash it,
Right.
clean it, and then cut it up and eat it.
And hopefully it's all good because if it's not, you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to hold anybody accountable very well.
No, but they'll trace it back if there's E. coli or whatever. You know what I mean? If
Well, and
there's
there's
something like
nobody out
that.
there verifying claims. Oh, this is organic beets. Prove it.
It's true.
Like, can you prove that they're organic? Do you have some sort of documentation?
They
Do you have a certification from the state? Like,
they
what's going on?
usually do.
Some
There's
of them
usually
do.
a way to do that
There's a
if
couple
they're
stands that'll have like their things displayed at
yeah,
the front that'll kind of like give you like their credentials. And
right.
I'll be honest with you, I'm cool with that. Those people probably have an actual shop or they actually sell to shops and things like that. They just happen to be out there on the weekend because they got nothing else to do, I guess. But some of those stands is just some dude who bought a poster board from Walmart and wrote carrots on it, organic, and put out a bin of carrots. He might have gone to Walmart and bought the carrots
He might
and
have,
then put them
but
out there, threw a
but
little dirt on them, and people were like, "Oh, these look good."
but he might have bought organic carrots too. So
It's
I
true.
mean,
So they might be organic
well,
carrots.
they might actually be organic carrots. I don't know.
All right,
Or at
we got to move on from this because I will do this all day. I will get riled up about the farmers market.
Oh my goodness! Wow, I didn't. We hit a sore subject. Let's talk about the NHL. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. The
Right on.
semifinals are happening right now. The last four team standings. Islanders and Lightning are playing in one series. That's tied at one after New York won game one, 2-1, and Tampa responded with a game two win, 4-2. Game three is going to be Thursday night at 5 p.m. Western on the USA, which is kind of a weird place to put that, but everybody's kind of
Yeah.
sharing these games. It's normally NBC Sports, but this one's on USA for some reason. I don't know why.
Well,
Uh,
normally about this time of year, you're not really dealing with much NBA, so you're kind of having to shuffle around.
right. So they got like three different channels that they use, but
Yeah.
that's on USA on Thursday night, game three. That'll be a good series. Watch that. Everything that the Islanders have been in has been good. The Lightning is, Carolina series was pretty good. These are two pretty good teams. The Islanders seem to be playing pretty good hockey, but the Lightning are last year's champions. They're the defending champions. I wouldn't put anything past them. Both teams are capable of winning the whole thing. So anyway, that's a good series. Yeah. So the other series, the other semifinal, if you're watching, is the Montreal Canadiens and the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas won game one Monday night, 4-1. Four different Las Vegas Knights scored in game one as Vegas grabbed the series lead. Game two is going on right now as we speak. Second period, 13:41 left. Canadians up 2-0. Knights are on the power play as we speak. Armia and Toffoli have scored for Montreal in the first period. So that is on NBC Sports if you want to go watch it when we're done.
Heck yeah, some exciting hockey.
I mean, you could watch it right now if you're just listening to us. That's
It's
fine.
true.
Just turn the
Just
sound down.
just mute it. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get interference because there's more fun to be had here. Um,
It's true.
than there. I mean, I don't know. We're rolling through this. This is going to be the shortest episode ever, so we have to have a lot more to talk about at the end. By the way,
Possibly.
we
My
might
minute might become 2 minutes.
two. You might get 2 minutes. Well,
Yeah.
minus the half you wasted on farmers market. So
True. True.
there'll be some math at the end. Um, trying to figure out what's going on. We are also see, I did it again. Look at that. I hate it when I do that. Sponsored by Boss Kitty Hand Dyed Yarns. Boss Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com at 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday and 11 a.m. every other Sunday for fun, fiber, games, tutorials, and the occasional F-bomb. Boss Kitty, just go to the website. I'm telling you what, you'll see all the yarn. I've spoken to the people in the family that do knitting, yarn work.
They do knitting.
I mean, I don't know what's the term. That
They're
knit.
knitters.
They knit. Right, but you do knitting, yeah. Anyway, and they love this yarn. I mean, it's like the best thing out there. I don't know if it's just the colors or the weight or the fabric or whatever, but anyway, apparently it's really really good. So go to BossKittyShop.com. You can purchase the yarn, purchase a gift certificate for whoever you want to purchase it for, but you can also go to Boss Kitty Live and watch the show, like we said. That's Boss Kitty, Yarn So Boss, You'll Knit Your Pants. So we are not even, I mean, we're over halfway, but we're moving so fast.
That's all right.
The Portland Trailblazers are going to need a new coach.
Yeah, they are.
They've got some candidates out there, people that they've said they want to talk to. One of them is Mike D'Antoni.
Sure.
1,199 games coached. He's got a 672 and 572 record. Although when I say that, those numbers don't add up to 1199.
Oh,
so must
okay.
be some playoff games in there or something that they're not counting.
Sure.
I don't know. But he's probably, if from what I hear, their leading candidate.
Yeah, it seems that way.
There are other names out there. Dame mentioned Jason Kidd, and then Jason Kidd immediately said, "Oh no, not me."
Yeah.
And we don't know what the reason was behind that. He may be happy where he's at.
True.
Being an assistant coach and just being a happy camper. I think in Milwaukee, isn't that where he's at right now?
I actually don't know where he's at right now.
Once
he stopped head coaching, I stopped caring.
Right. But he's coached 373 games. He's got a 183 and 190 record. That's a losing record.
And that's why I don't want him.
Keep him score. Stan Van Gundy just became available. Got fired by the Pelicans. 979 career games coached, a 554 and 425 record. That's probably the best percentage of this group of people we're talking about. And he's got that mustache. So that's a plus.
Yeah, but then it's Stan Van Gundy. You just have to listen to him yelling "ice, ice, ice" all the time.
Well, I mean, if they win, do you care? I mean,
I care a little bit, but no.
But
not
no.
enough to overturn it. If what you're telling me right now is that we are guaranteed to make the Western Conference Finals at least, whether or not we win, it's all in story. If we're guaranteed to make it with him, I'd say higher.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to tell me that it's going to be, any sort of first round or early second round exit, then let's just keep looking for somebody else.
Yeah, Chauncey Billups also one of those names that's been thrown in there. He has never been a head coach. He's currently an assistant coach. I don't. Former player for the Pistons and NBA champion, and I think he'd be a great choice if you're looking to give somebody a shot. I don't know if Portland's ready to do that.
I don't think they are.
I don't know that Portland is I don't know. I feel like they want an established guy who's proven a winner, and I think that everybody's going to say that. Every NBA team who has an opening is going to say that. Oh, we want a proven winner, or we want somebody. But they've also been proven losers at some point in time. So it doesn't. You don't have any of those, or very many of those, people that are proven winners that are going to win, constantly and consistently for your team and push your team to that next level. I don't know if the Blazers are going to find that guy.
Well, no, because those guys are guys like Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr's never been a loser.
Right, and he's not going to leave.
And he's not going to leave a place where he can continue to be a winner. They're going to have to kick him out of there. And I'll tell you what, if they ever boot Steve Kerr out, I think it's a matter of minutes before Steph Curry and Klay Thompson leave.
Oh yeah, probably.
I think that Draymond wouldn't care necessarily, but those other guys, I think they care too much. They realize where this whole thing started.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, they need a winning coach, that's for sure. And there's not a ton of options.
There aren't a whole lot, unless you're willing to give maybe a college coach a chance or interview somebody like that. But
and that's where someone like Chauncey Billups has appeal, is that he was pretty much a winner in play as a player, and he's been an assistant coach on some winning teams.
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't have a head coaching resume. You don't have anything to point to there. So
right.
that's something that you can say, oh, that's bad, but something you can also say, oh, that's good. This will be his first time. You can mold
Right.
him, and imagine being a first-time coach, and the first player you get is Dame.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna move here to the Hawks Sixers real quick.
Okay.
Because Atlanta, they used they used 25 points and 18 assists from Trae Young to beat Philadelphia 103-100 in Game 4 on Monday night. They evened that series at 2 games. Tobias Harris led the Sixers with 20 points. Joel Embiid was 4 for 20 from the floor, but he did have 21 rebounds. Game 5 is right now on TNT. If you're watching it, Atlanta has the lead now, 107-104 with 21.9 seconds left. Philadelphia had a 20-something point lead at one point. Almost the whole game.
Philadelphia is the biggest joke in basketball. And no one trusts the process.
Yeah, Philly has the ball, but they need 3. So
no one trusts the process. It's over.
Right now, looking for a 3-point shot as we speak. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Embiid just got fouled driving into the lane with 10.9 to go. He's going to get 2 shots, but they'll still be behind no matter what he does. And Atlanta will have the ball. Anyway, that series, yeah, I feel like Philly should have already won this. I mean, maybe not swept it. Okay, maybe it should be 3-1 or something. But this is you're the number 1 team in the East, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you should be better. But Atlanta has been the hottest team in the East probably the last quarter of the season for sure, maybe a little longer, maybe third, and they kind of came out of nowhere to be the 5 seed. But I feel like Philadelphia, if you've got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Seth Curry's been playing out of his mind in this game, and
yeah,
that's a good player, and you've got an experienced coach, Doc Rivers. They got everything they need. How come they're not winning? How come they haven't won this already?
Well, it's because they don't have everything they need. You think they have everything they need. You think, oh, well, they've got Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons is a one-dimensional downhill player, okay defender. If you think Ben Simmons is a good defender, you're ignoring the fact that he's 7 feet tall.
Right.
So that's what makes him a good defender.
I feel like
that's it.
I feel like they lose this game, they're probably going to get booed out of that arena.
I feel like they should. Philly fans deserve to.
Philly fans will turn on you in a heartbeat.
You blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And you're the number 1 seed in the East. Come on now, get out of here.
It wasn't exactly. It hasn't been a good look for Philadelphia tonight. They were. I mean, the whole way I was sitting there going. I literally said, "Oh, this game's over." Earlier, when I was watching them, this game's over.
I think we both said it. I think we were both like, "Man, nothing to see here."
There's no reason to.
I just can't believe that they're this incompetent of a team, top to bottom. Another Doc Rivers team that just cannot perform. Not when it matters. Doc Rivers has historically had teams that struggle when they in the playoffs. Those that Clippers team with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
That just couldn't get anywhere.
That was good. Really good. Just didn't seem to ever take that step. You know what I mean? That they needed to take to get, the next level. I'm stalling just a hair because
we're waiting to see how it ends.
I want to see how it ends before we move along because this is a big game in this series. So 10.2 seconds to go. Atlanta got the rebound off the miss by Joel Embiid, and so it's still a 3-point lead for Atlanta with the ball now. Chance to go up. Obviously, they're going to foul them. You can try for a steal real quick, but that's going to waste a second and a half or 2. I feel like you should be fouling right away. If it's me, I would. Just to get that foul and stop the clock. But what do I know? I don't get paid to coach an NBA team yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little delay out here. That you got some people cleaning up the floor. Somebody fell down and.
Just saying, I'm glad that Nate McMillan is no longer the Blazers coach.
Yeah.
Well, that was sarcastic because he's clearly about to win this game.
Clearly, could be one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, and if he makes the Eastern Conference Finals one time, then he'll have made the Eastern Conference Finals as many times as Terry Stotts made the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
So it doesn't do you a lot of good.
With probably an inferior team.
Well, this inferior team beat us in like the third to last game of the season.
Yeah, well, that's.
So no, this game is over.
It's about to inbound the ball and throwing it in the backcourt for Trae Young, and he's going to get it, and he's going to waste some time. They're not. Wow. Long throw into the backcourt. Trae Young did a good job of corralling it. He's going to go to the line, shooting 2 with a chance to pretty much ice this away. 107-104 right now with 8.4 seconds to go. So Philadelphia just collapsed. So there you go. Of course, I said it was over earlier, and it wasn't. So
Yeah,
uh,
so that's what happened last week though when Atlanta came back and won. They came back last time. That's 2 games in a row they've mounted comebacks
yeah,
on Philly, who's looked like they were marching away with it and has zero fourth quarter presence.
and he made the first free throw, so now it's a 4-point game. It's a 2-possession game.
Joel Embiid's just he's not the guy.
Right.
You know, his body language right now is terrible.
Oh yeah, he looks.
You know, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he looks depressed. Like
Like sad.
disinterested
He
sometimes,
knows
but
he's blown. He knows he blew this.
yeah, yeah, you're right. This is bad. So why does it take so long to shoot a free throw?
Yeah, you know.
What?
If you see the ref counting for Giannis,
Seeing
where you
how?
can see it, so Giannis has a notoriously slow
Yeah,
free throw,
yeah.
and the ref is like counting him, like, "Come on now, let's go."
He's been called on it a couple times this year.
Yeah, and I
Um,
still watched Giannis miss a bunch of free throws.
yeah, he's not a great free throw shooter. He's like a 60% free throw shooter. For a guy who scores as much as he does, you'd think you'd be good at it. Well, Trae Young made both free throws. It's 109, 104. Philly on the inbound, bringing the ball up the floor right now, looking for a three. They're going to get a three off, and it's off. Seth Curry with the rebound. He's going to score. It's 109, 106 with zero point 0.1 seconds.
That's game.
So you might as well forget it. They're going to inbound it, and the game's over.
Yeah.
So Atlanta takes a 3-2 series lead over Philly, heading back to Atlanta for Game 6. Whoo!
What a shame.
Which is going to be, I'm guessing, Friday?
Something like that, probably.
I'm assuming that'll be Friday night. I haven't really looked at
Usually it's in a day or two.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't be tomorrow because of travel, so I'm guessing it'll be Friday night. Anyway, so there's that. So let's go talk about the other series that we have. So the Jazz Clippers. Clippers beat the Jazz 118-104 on Monday night to even their series at 2 games apiece. They got 31 each from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in that one. Donovan Mitchell had 37 for the Jazz. Game 5 is on TNT right now, or
Right.
we'll be switching over here in just a second from Salt Lake City. But more importantly, Kawhi Leonard's hurt. And
Yeah.
he's going to be out tonight for sure. And that's not good. I mean,
No, not when he's an automatic 30 points.
yeah, LA won those two, looked pretty easy winning those 2 games against the Jazz. To me, they looked like they were the better basketball team. And now, if you're going to take out your star player, well, I don't know which one's the star, George or Leonard, but co-stars. Anyway, you're going to
Yeah.
take out one of those guys who's clearly NBA champion. He's a defensive, great defensive player, and he's an NBA All-Star. That hurts at this point in the season. You can't make up for that. So we're going to see what happens tonight in that game. It looks like right now it's the Clippers 12, Utah 10, with about 7.5 to go in the first quarter. But I don't know. What do you if he can't come back and play? If he's hurt, is that it for the Clippers, or can they?
I
still
mean,
win?
they could still win. They still have Paul George and they still have a number of other pieces, but they don't have anybody who's automatic, which means all of those guys are going to have to play better than they've ever played. With the exception of Paul George, he usually is about 25 to 30 points a night. So everyone else is going to have to play better than they've ever played, and they're going to need one other guy to play the game of his career. If it's just one game, if it's multiple games, they're going to need to do that a lot. And then they're going to need to do that going into playing Phoenix. So it doesn't look good for them because, Kawhi Leonard is such a fantastic defender despite getting a second team defense snub this year, which I cannot stress to you how ridiculous their defensive teams this year. But yeah, no, they're not out of it. It's just going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. Utah has a lot more pieces to spread the ball around to score. And the Clippers do not have that sort of luxury. They need to find points and they need to find defense.
Yeah.
So, not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's there was a delay. It's funny because they swapped over just now. TNT swapped over so you could show you the Clippers Jazz game, and there's their clock is behind the clock that's on the NBA.com website. So there's a delay. There's 30 or 40 seconds of game time that's been taped apparently, and they're showing you that now. So they'll probably cut a commercial short later and make it up.
That sounds right.
But yeah. Anyway, so right now it's 12-10. It was now according to the NBA it's 13-13. Anyway, so that series is tight. I don't know. Watching Utah play the Clippers, I feel like they don't look as dominant as I thought they were the second half of the season. Do you know what I mean? They're good, but they Clippers exposed a couple things over the last two games, and
Right.
it made Utah look really human. I guess is what I'm saying, and that's weird to me. It just feels um,
Well, but
awkward.
all the last half of the season, the Utah did not look like the Utah from the first half of the season. The last like 20, 30 games of the season, Utah lost. I mean, they were like what? I want to say that I want to say they lost 10 games in that span in the last 20, 30 games. Like,
Okay.
so it's not like they were, just absolutely going crazy. They were still losing games and things like that in that back half of the season. And then they roll into the playoffs, with some injuries. They started without Donovan Mitchell, so they looked pretty pedestrian to start. But since they've had him back, you know, they've done what they need to do. The Clippers have just done just a hair more. And literally all of these games are nobody's. I mean, I guess the Clippers blew them out last game pretty badly,
Yeah.
and they actually finished them off on like what Philly can do. But I don't think that there's anything to worry about with Utah. I don't think you're looking at Utah going, oh man, you guys were so much better then. No, I think that they were the same team then. I think the Clippers and Kawhi in particular are just really good, and they're playoff oriented,
All right.
and they're really good at that sort of stuff. But without Kawhi, everything changes a little bit.
Yeah.
You're no longer getting, a whatever team defender. They don't have one anymore. There's no all-star defender on the floor anymore. So other than Rudy Gobert, and that's not on your team. So
Right.
it's gonna be a very big uphill battle for the Clippers, and for Utah that's a big boost. They're going to be able to get a little more at will scoring.
So the Nets and the Bucks, the other series in the East. Kevin Durant, boy, had himself a night last night. 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists to lead Brooklyn. James Harden was back, but Kyrie Irving was still out. And they won 114-108, and Kevin Durant just did it all. And that's one of those things when you have one of those players that is a luxury that he can literally just kind of carry the whole team. They have a 3-2 series
Really
lead.
can.
Yeah, 3-2 series lead. Their game 6 is on Thursday. That's at 5:30 West on ESPN. Giannis had 34 points and 12 rebounds for Milwaukee, but I don't know. Giannis looks good, but it seems like 30 points is an easy thing for him. You know what I mean? Getting 30 points, it seems like a breeze. And there are times when he looks so bad, like he can't shoot or he can't do things, and everything's off. And there are times where everything's clicking, and he seems streaky to me. Like there are times, like you said, he doesn't shoot free throws very well. It's one of those. He'd probably have a lot more points if he could shoot some free throws.
Yeah,
Um,
he'd probably have a few more because he gets a lot of foul calls.
right. But he's that LeBron type player. He's big and strong, and he's more powerful than you, and he drives the ball right at you, and he gets those foul calls. And if he could shoot free throws and was a consistent shooter, right, rather than the dunks, dunks and layups are easy for him.
Yeah.
But if his mid range, to long range game was more consistent, he would score a lot more points.
He
But
shot the second highest amount of free throws in the league this year, 9.29 behind Joel Embiid, who was at 10.68. So he averaged 9 free throws a game. That's an extra 9 points a game if
right,
you can make them all.
right, but he's about a 60 something. I can't remember what his percentage is. I'm gonna say it's like 62 or
So he's
3% free
getting
throw
five
shooting.
five to six free throws a
Right,
game that he's making,
right,
which isn't bad. But when guys around you, when Joel Embiid on the other side is shooting, 75, 80%,
right. You're
why aren't you? You're much more athletic than he
you're
is.
leaving 1 to 2 points on the floor, every
Yeah.
every night that free points. They're free points. Um, yeah. Anyway, I don't know, but that series, I feel like Brooklyn did something last night that I was kind of looking for, which was win without players and
Yeah.
be that team. Well, it took superhuman effort from Kevin Durant, but he's the guy that can do that. So I feel that's the Nets, you know, probably going to win in 6, barring something crazy. But if Harden is back, then yeah, I think they have enough with Harden and Durant. They don't really need Kyrie Irving. I mean, he'd be nice, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that series, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I feel like that's the Nets for sure. So that would give us. And right now the Hawks, just went up 3-2, right? So now
Right.
you're looking at a Nets Hawks Eastern Conference final. That will be interesting.
I mean, I want to say the Nets are going to win, but I also said Philly was going to win.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I don't know, and who knows with injuries?
it's true. We don't know what's going on at the moment. Anyway, so there's one more series we haven't talked about, and that's out west. We don't really have to talk much about it because the Suns swept the Nuggets with a
Yep.
125-118 win on Sunday in Denver. Chris Paul had 37 for Phoenix. Nikola Jokic had 22 and um, 11 rebounds for Denver. Jokic was ejected late in the third quarter after committing a hard foul on Phoenix's Cameron Payne. It was a
Yep.
foul that led to a confrontation with Devin Booker. Um, and then both Booker and Jokic were given technical fouls. And then they reviewed Jokic's foul and determined it was a flagrant two, and that led to his ejection. I'm not sure it was a flagrant two, but the David Guthrie, the crew chief of the referees there, said at replay review we saw windup, impact, and follow through, which led to unnecessary and excessive contact above the shoulders and also into the face, and that's why they called it. That's probably reading right out of the rule book. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, as they should. When
yeah,
you call something, if you just read it out of the rule book, it's not a little hard to argue.
yeah, exactly. But it didn't seem like it was a flagrant two when it happened. It seemed like a frustration foul. He was trying to hard foul him. He really was. But it wasn't one of those like he seemed like he was trying to hurt him in any way. You know what I mean? It was just born out of we're down 3-0 and we're losing this game as well. So that's going to be hard to take when you're the NBA MVP, I think. What do I know? But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
that
fair.
it's a sweep. The Suns are good. But this just in, the Suns are good enough to win this whole thing. They're fast, they're young, they're athletic. That is going to be a tough team to beat for either Utah or, um, yeah, the Clippers. I think that you're going to have a hard time keeping up with them. Chris Paul, although not young, is super fast.
Yes,
He's wiry, and so yeah,
he is wider.
he's hard. He's hard. That guy's hard. I mean, he's going one direction, then he's going the other. He's going to be hard to contain if you're playing defense, and not just score, but he can pass, and he his assist to turnover ratio is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's one of those guys who had what? He's the for 3 times now. He's had 15 assists and no turnovers in a playoff game. 3 times in his career. I'm like, wow.
Well,
So
he's not a very big guy. He's probably actually 5'10" or so,
yeah,
like in reality. So I mean, a lot of these dudes have to get way down there to try and take the ball from him.
yeah. It's a lot of bending
So
over. Yeah,
he makes good passes and he plays really low to the ground. And he takes a lot of mid range stuff. A lot of turnovers happen driving the lane and somebody smacks it out of your hand, off your body, and things like that. Like that's when that kind of stuff happens. He doesn't take those chances. Almost all of his work is 15-foot plus.
right. Yeah, no, he's dangerous. That's a dangerous player. And then when you add in Devin Booker and they're that's tough. I mean, that's a tough team to stop. Anyway, if I was going to put money right now of the 8 teams that are well, there's now 7 teams left. Of the 7 teams left, I would put my money on Phoenix. What say you?
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
I would do the same thing.
Okay.
I would say Phoenix has got. I'd say Phoenix has got an easy path to the final, kind of no matter what.
And I'd like to watch. I'd like to watch a Phoenix Brooklyn.
That'd be nice,
NBA
yeah. A
final.
little young team versus an
Yeah,
older team.
that would be
Yeah,
exciting. I think that would be a lot. That would be a lot of fun to watch. Anyway,
that would be really cool.
I don't know. All right, let's talk about college football
College football.
because we can. The college football playoff committee is entertaining a what proposal? I guess is the right term to expand the
Yeah.
playoff from the current 4-team format to a 12-team version, which would give the first round buys to the top 4 seeds, and then the next 4 seeds would play home football games, home playoff games. And I will tell you right off the bat that I love the idea of playing a home college football playoff game.
That would be nice.
That is ridiculously exciting to me because it doesn't matter where you're playing. I mean, imagine playing at home, two gigantic teams playing. I mean, a whiteout in Happy Valley, you know, or playing in the big house in. They got to get there
Yeah.
first, but I mean, or heck, playing in Eugene, you know what I mean, in the loudest stadium in college football, in December for a chance to play for the national championship. That would just be fantastic. Those games will be
It would be
so
really
exciting. Cool. Yeah. And I think the other thing that this would do, this is just my take. I'm not sold on the format, but the other thing this would do is it would make some later games in the season mean something. Not every game's going to mean anything, and some are going to say it's watered down. Your season gets watered down because all these teams make the playoffs. But there are games that are going to happen in late November that are between teams that are ranked 12, 13, 14, or 15. And right now, it doesn't mean anything other than which bowl game you go to. But if you were battling for that final playoff spot, that's a big deal. So,
well, that's what happened this year with the NBA games. They expanded the playoff format with the play-in stuff, which is essentially just making the playoffs bigger. And next thing you know, people are playing hard late in the season. Yeah, I feel like the problem is if you lose 2 games right now in college football and you lose them by week 5, you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So your incentive to do good is maybe to possibly win your conference, but other than that, it's all just for some crap bowl game, especially if you're a conference like the Pac-12 that has terrible bowl tie-ins other than the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So
you're going to play in that Las Vegas Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. What does this mean for the group of 5 schools? Is it going to be any better? I mean, obviously there's more room. They could get in. Say again? I missed it.
What's that?
It must have cut out. What? Say it again.
All I was saying is that it's going to make more people try later on in the season, because right now if you lose 2 games, you're done. You're done with the season. Right. It doesn't matter if they're 2 games early, if they're 2 games by the 5th game, but by midway through the season, if you've lost 2 games, you have no shot of making the playoff. You are toast.
Right.
But if you win a conference championship and you're now a conference winner and you get a guaranteed berth, now you're trying.
Yeah, that's true.
You might have 4 losses in your conference, but if you win the conference for whatever reason, through whatever chaos, you win your conference, you get to go to the playoff. That's a big deal.
And it's the current proposal says you got to be one of the top 6 highest ranked conference winners. So
right.
you probably aren't going to be able to squeak in with a 9-3, 8-4 record, but it's
not impossible.
It's not impossible. Yeah,
it puts it more in the realm of possibility.
And as a conference winner, you would also be eligible for one of those at-large bids too. It doesn't have to be specifically. You know what I mean? Just because maybe you were 9-3 and you won the conference, and you're ranked 16th or 17th, and you're not one of the top 6 highest ranked conference winners, you could still make it as an at-large team.
Fair.
Because you did win your conference, I think that would have a lot of weight. But anyway, I don't know. It's an interesting format. Is it going to help the Pac-12?
Should help the Pac-12 a little bit. It'll give you a better chance to get. I mean, there's a lot of seasons where Oregon, Stanford, or Washington, one of those 3 teams or Utah ends up at like 5 or 6. And you win your conference, but you're 5 or 6.
Right.
That's you were never going to get in because you had a loss or 2 or whatever the hell the case may be, whatever the committee decided was the issue with your schedule. But now you've won your conference and you're in that 5-6 spot. You're in. You no longer have to be perfect, which, you could say, is going to deteriorate the quality of the game, but it's not. No. You still need to be good to get in. These teams that have 2 losses in a 12-game schedule, it happens, especially when you schedule well. Right. Unlike some teams, Alabama.
Right. Wow.
But it's going to help. It's going to help everybody. It's going to help. Even that includes the conferences that are already helped by it. The system as it is. The SEC is going to be helped more. Pac-12 is going to be helped more. Big 10, Big 12, ACC, the smaller conferences, they're all going to be helped more. Okay. It is a positive change, the most positive change they could make.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to take me some time to adjust to it. I think I like it. I like the expansion. I'm all for expansion. I would have preferred them go to 16 or 8. Instead of the 12, but that's just me talking.
Well, 1 year ago, they were saying that we were 10 years off of expanding, period.
Right.
So this is fantastic.
I understand. I said I'm not against it. I'm just saying I feel it's an awkward number. Why?
It's a controlled number.
It's somebody's idea of how they can best manipulate the number, and I don't.
Absolutely.
I think that's a bad idea. Why don't you just make it even? And why do we have this? Phobia of just including every conference winner and then having a couple of at-large teams. Why don't you just have all those conference winners get in the playoff? I know you're gonna. Oh, they don't play anybody. I hear what you're saying, but you win your conference, you get in. That's how it works. There's teams like that in the NCAA basketball tournament, and guess what? One of those 16 seeds beat a number 1 seed, right? It happens.
Well, that's
It,
why they don't. That's why they don't want it. They don't want that happening to one of their really good teams. So
right.
one of their golden, their golden goose teams.
Sure, I get it, but it feels like one of those things where I think they should consider just conference champions get in, and we have some at-large teams, and then it's done. You can seed them however you want, right? That's fine. Seed that conference champion last. They're the number 8 or 16 or whatever. But to have 12 and give some people an extra week off, that seems odd to me.
It does.
It was fair when it was 4 because everybody played on the same, schedule. We both the semifinal games today and tomorrow or whatever, or they're on the same day, and then the championship game is everybody had the same amount of rest. But now you're talking about resting teams, and that's their bonus for being one of the top 4
as a reward for being ranked
right.
high, where some committee put them. Yeah,
right, exactly. So I feel like that's kind of awkward to me, but
it's ripe for manipulation.
I can get through it, but it's going to take me a little bit of time before
You're going to have to. It hasn't even been approved yet.
I know, right? That's not even a real thing.
They might go into this offseason and the powers that be are like, nah, not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then we're not talking about it anymore because
right.
it isn't a real thing.
I think what's going to happen is if you expand the playoff too much, too big, it's going to ruin some of those bowl games. You know what I mean? They're just going to be gone. And why do we even have the bowl games, to be honest with you?
Revenue.
It is. But you're going to you're going to hurt those middle, high tier bowl games that are not part of the playoff, that are not, you know what I mean? Because now you're going to have a home playoff game, which isn't a bowl game.
Yeah.
And those are 2 teams that would have been playing in a bowl game somewhere.
To say that it's not, well, I mean, that's not, I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, you can, just because, Oregon is now in the playoff, right. So we're getting a home game, and we were the conference winner, so we were supposed to go to Pasadena.
Right.
Does not mean that Stanford can't go to Pasadena as the number 2 and go play the Big Ten's person.
You're absolutely right.
That bowl game doesn't have to suffer. And if you act like those places aren't going to sell out their games, especially those bigger ones, that's a whole nother story. But if you think that the Las Vegas Bowl was selling out every time, you're mistaken. It's not. It never was, and it's not going to hurt any more from this.
Well, you went to both extremes. So the Rose Bowl is a top tier bowl game, and the Las Vegas Bowl is a bottom tier bowl game.
So hit me with that mid tier bowl game.
Okay, the Gator Bowl.
The Gator Bowl. What is the Gator Bowl?
The Gator Bowl that has the Big Ten and the SEC play, and it's like the number 3 and 4 teams play. Those are going to be, because the number 3 and 4 teams might be in the college football playoff now from those same conferences. You might get 3 teams in. You might get 4 teams in. They're not going to be available for that game to play in Jacksonville. That's not going to happen.
The Tax Layer Gator Bowl. Okay, cool.
That's been around forever. It's one of those games,
Yeah.
The Cotton Bowl. If we don't include it as part of the thing, as part of the playoff, it's going to be out because it's
here's who played
out to begin with.
Here's who played in the Gator Bowl: Kentucky versus NC State last year.
Okay.
NC State was ranked 24th. Tennessee versus Indiana the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Number 21 Texas A&M versus NC State the year before that. Number 24 Mississippi State Louisville. These are not mid-tier bowl games. These are, just because one of the teams is ranked.
Okay, so what I'm saying is they've changed that affiliation. That it didn't used to be that way, because you're talking about ACC teams, and that's not how it used to be.
Well, but that's just it. I think there's the bowl games, and then there's all of the other bowl games. You might have some interesting matchups that kind of crop up. The Outback Bowl occasionally gets this weird
Bowl. There you go. There's
10-9 matchup.
Yep.
That's really cool, but no one's not going to watch that anymore if it's a 14-15. People are still going to watch it, and it's still going to sell to two pretty highly ranked teams. People are going to get really excited about it. If you were trying to tell me that all of those other bowls, those mid-tier bowls, are then going to get replaced by unranked teams, I'd be like, yeah, that kind of sucks.
Well,
but they're still going to be fine, or you fold them in.
The Citrus Bowl, yeah. Outback Bowl, the Peach Bowl.
Can't spell citrus without UT.
Yeah. Those are games that are going to struggle, is what I'm saying, because it's going to be hard for them to get a team. The lower bowl games aren't going to matter because it's still going to have the same kind of teams in them, so it won't really make a difference. But there's going to be some struggle, and those bowl games are, if you're not getting teams that anybody wants to see, which first of all, let's be honest, those bowl games need to be they need to be a sponsored game that is already at someone's home stadium, because then you're guaranteed to get a crowd.
Yeah.
As opposed to why is a team from Washington State and maybe I don't know New York playing in Dallas, Texas? That's not helpful. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be a reward, but you have a hard time selling those tickets. So if it was all being played
Sometimes,
at somebody's home field, you know what I mean? Whoever was the better record, or whoever whatever was the home team for that game, that would be a much more. You'd sell a lot more tickets. It'd be.
It should be a traveling sponsor, is what you're saying.
Correct.
It should be this. It should be the whatever bowl, the Tax Slayer Bowl this year at Oregon.
Right.
The Tax Slayer Bowl this year at Minnesota.
Right, and it would move around.
It shouldn't be the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
Yeah, right.
Because that implies it has to be in Florida.
Right. Yeah. Anyway,
so
I don't know. I'm just saying it's one of those things that I would be interesting to watch, see what happens to those bowl games. But anyway, I don't know. Well, anyway, so it's like I said, it's not a done deal, so who knows? All right, let's talk about the thing that caught my attention the most, and you brought it to my attention because I didn't even realize it was a thing. And that's the fact that at the Cubs Cardinals game on Sunday, at the Cubs Cardinals game on Sunday, they made a beer snake. Well, it's actually a beer cup snake, I guess. Let's call it whatever you want.
You don't have to call it a cup snake. It's just a beer snake. That's what it's called.
Yeah, all right. And there was a lot of beer in there, still pouring out, by the way.
Well, I mean, people
out of those cups. But they were literally making a big snake out of all the plastic cups that they had for beer, and according to one report, that was 100 feet long.
100 feet long
out there in center field, at the Cubs Cardinals game, and they figured out how many cups it would take. It's about 2 cups an inch, and it's 100 feet long. It's about 2,400 cups at $12 a beer. They figure that's about a little over $28,000 worth of beer. That's how much that snake's worth, by the way.
And people were probably running to go drink more to contribute.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like this group of people in this specific section all drank $23,000 or $28,000 worth of beer.
And apparently this is something that's been going on. They've been doing it at other sporting events, XFL game, and all these different places. I had never seen it before. I had honestly never seen this before, but I love it. I think it's great because it's, number one, it's participatory. And now that all the fans are back and they're longing for something to do, they're out there doing it. And this is a group effort. I like that. It's a lot like the Wave, only messier.
Only messier, and somebody drank, and you may have to wear some cups on your shoulder for a little bit in the game.
You're gonna have to drink everybody has to drink 2 beers so you contribute 1 inch to the snake. Anyway.
I just wanted to when the game was over, they just set it down.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Just walk out. Like, all right, this is fun. See you later.
It's a fantastic question. What
did people take home parts of the legendary 100-foot snake?
But I mean, if you took home any cup from the game, you could say that this was in the snake. Who's not going to believe? They're going to believe you, right? Wait a minute, you were sitting behind home plate. How'd you get that? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it was really, really cool. I love when fans do things like that, and I think it's always kind of neat. And baseball games, let's be honest, these fans were so bored and so drunk that they found another way to entertain themselves that was more entertaining than the game on the field.
I find it even funnier that there were people toasting the snake. They'd hold up the snake and they were holding their beer up to toast it. I'm like, no, you finish the beer and put the cup on there. You're falling behind, dude. Anyway,
people are funny as a general rule, and that was a great moment, like in humanity. Not very coronavirus friendly.
Well, but everything was opened up, and that people were not wearing masks. They had opened up the Wrigley Field to full capacity. So I think that's the beer snake is the appearance of the beer snake is the indication that baseball might be back to normal.
The life is returning to normal.
Right.
The world is healing.
Right. We thought it was extinct, but the beer snake has been sighted. So
that's fair.
There you go. Let's talk about. I guess we'll do your minute. You got a minute? You got something you want to talk about? So let's do that. So in a segment that we want to call "Your Mother Thinks I Talk Too Much," Parker has the floor to talk about whatever he wants for the next minute or so. So take it away, Parker.
So the thing we're talking about today is the NBA's competition committee is meeting to address unnatural shooting motions to draw fouls. And what makes this so frustrating is that this is something that I've been complaining about all season long. I think I remember calling you in the first couple weeks of the season saying Trae Young is doing this thing where he runs down the lane, he jams on the brakes, and then goes straight up into somebody who's kind of stuck going over the top of them or behind them because they can't stop that fast. And it's an unnatural. And then he's heaving it up. Or guys like Dame does it. They come around a screen, and before they're fully around the screen, they're just kind of heaving the ball up while there's still a little contact. These are unnatural shooting motions. You don't shoot that way. You're not trained to shoot that way. You're not trained to shoot going into somebody. You're not trained to shoot all this way. And there's a bunch of guys who are big offenders. James Harden was a big offender of it years ago. Although it seems like he's gotten substantially better at it. But it's just been a really frustrating thing to watch. And all season I was complaining about it. And then Steve Nash came out and complained about it. He actually said in an interview, he said, that's not basketball, but they certainly aren't the only ones trying to grift their way into calls. Turn on any game, and you won't have to wait along to see a player jump sideways or backwards and try and earn a trip to the free throw line. So he's very familiar with the issue, and I'm just happy that the league's going to take the offseason to look at. But the question becomes, will this neuter Trae Young's game? Because he gets to the free throw line, the fourth most in the league, behind we talked about Giannis and Joel Embiid are 1 and 2, and Trae Young's at 4. So he gets to the free throw line a lot, and he's a shooter too. So he's well over 90-something%. So this is a big factor in his game. If he no longer gets those are going to not just turn into no calls, they're going to turn into offensive foul calls, which are going to turn into turnovers, and they're going to turn into big deals. So I'm very curious to see about how this whole thing works out. But that's all I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's you see it a lot in the NBA, and the pump fake has always been a part of the game where you try and get someone off their feet, and I understand that, but it usually is followed by a somewhat normal shooting motion.
It's not a pump fake and then a jump into the person while they're in the air.
But it has become that in the NBA. It has become this, I got him off the floor, let me drive into him and make contact as I shoot, which is not how you shoot, and everyone knows that. So
everyone's aware.
Yeah, everyone's aware that it's happening, and it's finally addressing it. We'll see what happens, and we'll see how they actually call it and enforce it if they decide to actually. I mean, it's going to be hard because every shot is going to be under scrutiny now, right?
I have a feeling they're going to want to default to no calls.
You're right.
But that's hard to do because you're thrusting your body into somebody on purpose. That's an offensive foul.
And some of these guys some of these athletes are so good at controlling their body that now you've got guys who like Dame, like Steph Curry, like Trae Young, who can jump backwards, right? Step back 3, except as they're stepping backwards, they're propelling themselves back forward. And so you're trying to make up that ground where they step back and you're coming at them and they're moving forward to make contact with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, especially if you're a bigger person. You can't stop that. Anyway, it's not natural. And yeah, James Harden was probably the worst offender of all what I used to see, which was stopping in front of people as a runner.
He was actually really bad at traveling. That was his main thing, was that he traveled a lot. He doesn't really do it anymore because they cracked down on it.
Right.
And he had to change his game, and he did, and he still managed to be an efficient scorer. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the trivia question. You ready?
Trivia question. Yep.
The trivia question was, what is the NHL record for goals scored in a playoff series by one player?
Okay.
Okay. Do you have a guess?
I do.
Okay, what's your guess?
Because I don't know a lot about hockey and I don't know a lot about the people, I'm going to guess Jágr.
Ooh.
Yeah, with 12.
You're naming a name. Jaromir Jágr. I like that.
Well, wasn't that part of it?
It is. I didn't think you knew that much about hockey.
I know the name Jágr. I remember when he played for the Penguins, right?
Yeah, he did.
So when we lived in Germany and in Savannah and things like that, that was like one of the few hockey players whose names kept popping up. That was like his heyday. Right. Was the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep, you're right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to go with Jágr and I'm going to go with 12.
Okay. Well, Jaromir Jágr is incorrect.
Damn.
However, 12 is right.
Woo!
You got the number right.
That's 50%. That's not bad.
I feel like that was way better than I thought it was going to be.
So I sat here and I was like, how many goals have I seen somebody score? And I saw Nathan McKinnon last year score 3 in a couple games. So he got to 9. and then he didn't score any. And I'm like, and that was a fantastic offensive output. And so I started thinking, man, if anybody's broke 15, that'd be pretty impressive. So I just went to 12 because it's my birth month.
So the answer is 12 by Yari Curry of the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
Against the Chicago Blackhawks in 1985. It was a 6-game series, and by the way, he scored 4 goals in Game 6 to close out the Blackhawks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He was sitting at 8. Well, down the list.
Right.
Do you know what all the other people on the list are? Like who's number 2?
I do. But the record for a 5-game series is 11 goals.
Oh.
Right, and the record for a 7-game series is 10. So, but there was it's amazing. It's kind of awkward. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. The 5-game series is the guys from 1920 something. But when apparently goals were cheap and easy to come by. But 11 goals in 5 games is over 2 a game, as opposed to 12 in 6 games, which is exactly 2 per game, right? And then 10 in a 7-game series is only like 1.5. So, you know what I mean? The scoring average comes down. Curry scored 19 goals in 18 playoff games that year in 1985 for the Oilers. Whew. So that's a lot. That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
that is a lot.
Yeah, 12 in the one series, but in the other 2 playoff series, he had a total of 7 more goals still. So he scored a lot of goals. But he was a goal scorer. That's what he did. But
it was a big year for him. Did they win the title?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt when you have Wayne Gretzky playing with you at all.
Well, that's true. He takes a little attention, a little heat off you.
Right. And at one point in time when they were with the Oilers, they had Mark Messier too. It was Gretzky, Messier, and Yari Curry all at once. That's kind of an overload. But anyway, yeah, so there you go. Yari Curry, 12 goals. You were half right. I'll give you half credit.
I'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I feel pretty good about that, considering I think they actually when you said it first, you asked for the number. You didn't necessarily ask for the name. You followed it up by saying also if you know the name. So I actually got the question you asked right. I just didn't get the next question you asked.
I guess that's true. So,
something like that.
Well, I'll give
so
you 60%.
I'm going to take this as a victory.
That's right. That's right. And we still have to go back through and figure out what your percentage is, because I don't know what it is, and I haven't done that yet. And that's a lot of statistical work that our crack stat team should be on, by the way. And they're not.
They're fired. We'll rehire different people.
Yeah. If anybody out there wants to do a lot of really, really hard, detailed, time-consuming work for free for us, please let me know, because
yeah, that'd be nice.
That's about what I can pay you. So that's all we have for the show, and I wanted to show this on our way out, because I think this is what happened with the Cubs. I feel like
in the stadium and empty.
I feel like maybe the stadium people started the cup thing.
That's too Portland of a thought process.
We'll get them all to stack them all for us, and then we don't have to clean them up as much. We don't have to go sweep them up.
They just had about 15 maintenance guys or cleaning crew people just come walk in and each take a different portion of the snake and walk out.
Right.
It was easy.
That was pretty
easiest day ever.
That's what I'm saying. Center field was clean in a heartbeat today. Anyway.
Note to self: tell all the people we know who work at baseball stadiums, like, hey, suggest to the people in front of you, like, oh, you should start a beer snake. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, you should start a beer snake. See if you can get a really big one all the way around the stadium.
I hear they got 100 feet out there in Chicago. Let's see if you can beat that.
That's right. Put the challenge out there, man. That's what you got to do. Anyway, so that's going to be all for our show. That's all we have for today, anyway. We're going to be back on Wednesday, June 23rd, with more NBA and NHL playoff coverage. We're going to be back with European soccer championships. We'll talk about that, because they're going to actually, next Wednesday is when they finish the group stage and start going to the knockout stages. We'll talk about who's the favorite at that point. We have MLS, NWSL, MLB. There's all kinds of stuff we're going to talk about. WNBA, all kinds of things in full swing. So we're going to talk about all of that and more next week. That's the 23rd, Wednesday the 23rd. We're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter, @Lamm Sports, on Facebook under The Best Lamm Sports Show. That's all you got to do. Type it in the search, The Best Lamm Sports Show. It'll take you right to the page. Email us, lambsports@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our website. That's www.lambsports.com. I want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.